This is Fountain Street Church.
I find it hard to find the best ones, but somehow, like I said, you'll hear what I'm trying to say even when the words
Here, we strive to free the mind, grow the soul, and change the world. Here, there is freedom to doubt and freedom to believe. Here, you can find a house of prayer for all people.
The swallow up Jonah.
Welcome to Fountain Street Church. Join us on the journey.
Good morning to you all. I'm grateful to Fred for inviting me into this historic pulpit, and I am grateful that you are all so friendly and warm and welcoming. And I'm grateful for Fred for being a wonderful colleague these past 2 years, very supportive. Thank you. To live is to cope with joy and sadness. It's difficult enough to cope with all those 32 flavors and then some without the extra layer of those ugly isms like racism, sexism, and heterosexism. My growing edge has been coping with stereotypes about what women can do. That's why I love Annie DeFranco's poem, 32 Flavors. I wouldn't have known who she was except my daughter and her friends love her. When I read her poetry and listen to her music, I thought, the face of sexism has changed for the younger generation. It's still a box, but a more subtle one. Here's Annie's poem. Squint your eyes and look closer. I'm not between you and your ambition. I am a poster girl with no poster. I am 32 flavors and then some. And I'm beyond your peripheral vision. So you might want to turn your head, because someday you are going to get hungry and eat most of the words you just said. Both my parents taught me about goodwill, and I have done well by their names. Just the kindness I've lavished on strangers is more than I can explain. Still, there's many who've turned out their porch lights just so I would think they were not at home and hid in the darkness of their windows till I passed and left them alone. And God help you if you are an ugly girl. Of course, too pretty is also your doom, because everyone harbors a secret hatred for the prettiest girl in the room. God help you if you are a phoenix and you dare to rise up from the ash. 1,000 eyes will smolder with jealousy while you are just flying past. I never tried to give my life meaning by demeaning you. And I would like to state for the record, I did everything that I could do. I'm not saying that I was a saint. I just don't want to live that way. No, I will never be a saint, but I will always say, squint your eyes and look closer. I'm not between you and your ambition. I am a poster girl with no poster. I am 32 flavors and then some. And I'm beyond your peripheral vision, so you might turn your head, because someday you might find you are starving and eating all the words you said. Ani DiFranco. Society wants to put us in a box that is different from who we really are. Then our social role is mixed up with what society says is normal. Normal is a paradox and irony of consistency and confusion. No one is normal. Who gets to say what normal is? Everybody thinks they know. It's a matter of perspective. I went to an exhibit of some illustrations of the great artist Norman Rockwell. Pictures speak louder than words. In the 1950s, Rockwell portrayed a sentimental picture of white middle-class America in which all the people of color just happened to be servants. Later, Rockwell said that this portrayal did ignore social injustice and that not everyone was better off in the 50s. With the civil rights movement in the 1960s, he portrayed a different image. A 6-year-old African-American girl walking with determination and dignity into an all-white elementary school, protected by U.S. Marshals, walking past racist graffiti, hateful faces, and a smashed tomato on the wall behind her. He painted a gripping picture of 3 dead civil rights workers, titled Southern Justice. And he also portrayed a black family moving into their suburban home, the white children and the black children looking at each other curiously, and each holding on to baseball equipment that could be a bridge to a right relationship. The subtlety of the racist message is that subordination of people of color to domination by whites somehow is supposed to keep chaos under control. And sexism says the same thing. Subordination of woman to man keeps chaos under control. It's a problem when normal is equated with what is good, and the people in power have the control about what's normal. In college, I took a course called Abnormal Psychology. Maybe some of you did. And like my classmates, I thought I had each diagnosis in our textbook, from hypochondriac to bipolar, from depression to borderline personality. Is it our fears that want control over the joy and sadness of living? My family raised me to be a normal heterosexual female. My father never taught me to do carpentry or to paint, as he taught my brothers. I have a big family, 7 brothers and sisters. My mother never asked my brothers to wash dishes, as she asked my sisters and I. My brothers were spanked as punishment. My sisters and I were sent to our bedroom. I cried. My brothers never cried. My parents did not want me to move out of the house until I was married, to be protected by a man. All 3 of my brothers served in the military before they married. When I pounded my first nail and painted a room as a grown-up, I felt a tremendous sense of liberation and freedom. And I do love it when my husband washes the dishes still. While I was growing up, I never imagined myself as a minister. I dreamt of being a minister's wife. Transcending my concept of a normal female was the only way I could succeed in being ordained as a minister. Those norms of white male heterosexism had power in my unconscious. It takes work to transcend unconscious assumptions and transform away from those self-fulfilling prophecies, but it's worth it as you find your creative center and express your authentic self. This search for one's authentic self is what Ani DiFranco references in her poem. This spiritual search is our blessed existential human condition. It's much harder to find your creative center and express your authentic self if your choices are restricted by social roles that shame or stigmatize. My choices to pound a nail, paint a wall, and become a minister still did not deviate too much from the dominant culture, probably did not upset the order of creation or were seen as sinful or sick by most people. But heterosexism does label homosexuality, bisexuality, and transgender sexuality as sick or sinful. Heterosexism says there are 2 choices, male or female, married or single. Heterosexism, reinforced by the fear of homosexuality, means making babies and enforcing compulsory gender roles. Homophobia is like putting up a border patrol to guard heterosexual omnipotence. The tension between LGBT people and their allies over and against the homophobic culture is manifest in today's religion and politics. I know you stand on the side of love and believe that rather than being stigmatized, our LGBT brothers and sisters deserve respect and dignity. The so-called straight society does so much harm. The suicide rate among LGBT youth is too high.